I'm not even gonna lie, man. I had messed up like that because uh, so when you when when the sky is falling on you, sometimes you don't realize that actually might be the opportunity to put the sky in your pocket. Because all I'm gonna say is like there's a silver lining through hard times, and like most people think about like I think that I may have missed an opportunity to be so wealthy that I could if you had all think of the three greatest billionaires that you know that you hear about a lot. If they had sold their coolest outfits and put up their homes in their houses, and the three of them had shacked up in a studio apartment in the roughest part of town, and then they said they only kept out their bank account what it would cost to get your more bulk volume of ramen noodles, and then they actually shared each one of those bowls of ramen noodles only once per day, because some people think it's healthier to eat once per day. And then they had pulled the rest of those resources, and then they had also did like a fundraiser to get like all the disposable income of all the people that work for them. I might have yet bested them, because how valuable would that have been if you could have like caught like Bigfoot on camera, like actual documentation of Bigfoot. I think I might have actually had the devil on the line today. And so like some people would think that like, oh, okay, so one of the greatest who has came before was great because he withstood what's called wicked, the wicked one, no less. If there's, because things are unified, the wicked one. But I think that what would have been more righteous is if you could play the wicked one. That is, play it back for the wicked one and for other people to see what the wicked one is about. But all I meant to say is like I had so like I won't say what I was into, but I got ran through. I got ran through. I got ran through one, and like the coldest thing is that like, so you more so mess up when you think that you're dealing with one person, because you're like, no people are really one person. So you could say like, you see someone, you see something pretty or handsome, and you go talk to them, and then somewhere about there you find out like their better half. Their better half had still been them even when you saw them. So you actually weren't looking. I don't think we're ever actually looking at one person and you have anything to do with anyone, and that actually implies other people. So I think it would be maybe it is more so disingenuous to say the wicked one, because maybe the wicked one is more so like the one that sets up the play, but then the one that gets over it, or the ones that get over it's more like it's more like a club, and like it had been it's more dynamic when it's a couple. There's this scene in like the movie Jurassic Park where like they're like this raptor. Now raptors are cold, but they're also packed on a raptor is cold alone, but nowhere so cold as the group. The real killer is the group. So you see like this raptor. And that's the last thing you see, because the other raptor was outside of your peripheral and your direct vision, and it got over on you while you were fixated on a raptor that would actually deign to allow you to look at it. And so I saw something that looked valuable like last summer, and I made a phone call, and then something picked up the phone that sounded pretty and thought that I had a cool idea, and then I met a couple of different people, and then I also went all the way through with that, and then I got like a little old piece of BS, and then when something didn't go with that BS, I went to get it fixed over some BS, and then something that got promised with that BS, I had to press a lot of things to get that to fix the BS. And then I found out I'm talking with like the head, most official important person, the head of the BS, after being referred by the former head of the BS to contact the head of the BS at another person, and also had the overview of the head of the BS. And they're like, this is the most above ground official legit thing, and they're running some numbers in my face. And I was thinking to myself like, I think that, so what would have been, what the real disingenuous part had been that I had not been more so disingenuous to make a recording of some of my interaction with the BS, because actually your more competition actually brings the best out of you. And I was like asking him like questions that would like kind of go directly to like the mechanics of the numbers. but you can't get over on a numbers game. Numbers will get over on all of us. I have said that I think maybe as this what's called this rock in space, and also the greatness that it circles around, when that's all gone, there'll be yet wind. Sometimes that's why I think wind is so cold. But what is deeper is that in other videos I said that maybe the deepest thing is actually the deepest thing is actually is mathematics, because it's purely conceptual. It's pure symmetry, it's pure asymmetry, it's both. That is, it's asymmetrical, not symmetrical, but not only symmetrical, and not and both, and not both, and not one or the other. Is mathematics, but the concept is the potential concept of symmetry of mathematics. It may be a better word than mathematics would be asymmetry. What the concept, the potential as a concept, as a conceptual reality it's almost beyond reality, because it's a pure potence, it's pure potential. It could be conceived, at least as we experience this universe or reality. I think universe, reality, and realities and universes are arbitrary, because that still sounds like a boundary or a limit or a definition. But as what is enunciating itself is existing within what facilitates this the potential for this existence to feel existent and express existent about existent. There had been, is, and can yet be potential for the concept of any symmetry, any mathematical expression, and that potence, that reality, that reverberation, and that further potence and further reality exists. Had anything come into existence or not, that concept, that potential concept it's pure symmetry, and it's almost beyond what you could say existing, because it can exist, and it cannot, and it's as true. It had been as true. 2 plus 2 had always been 4, yet it could also say 2 plus 2 had never been 4, and you could really, I think, articulate that 2 plus 2 is as equally not 4 as it is 4. It is still yet arbitrary as true as 2 plus 2 is, if you think about it. Is 1 plus 1 is 1 and 1 2, or is 1 and 1 1? Or yet, if 1 and 1 is 2, and 1 and 1 is as equally 1, then by that reasoning, one could say that 1 plus 1 is also none. But so all I meant is that but we can't get over on a numbers game. I don't think we can. So it could say that even as what's called existence is some has said, like in India, the dot right there represents like a bindu, and my understanding is that that's all creative potential expression and the lack thereof, because that point, and even the point, is redundant in how broad and fine it can be, as to go from both without to within, from beyond to none, and to beyond is all potence, is a bindu, is that might be a better word than even reality and existence and self and other and any other beautiful term. Even I've said that the most profound expression that I know is chit gana, consciousness, greatness, and that can refer and invoke and confound any degree of existent, or any degree of experience. Any degree of experience can and cannot be within the bound of what's called chid gana, consciousness great, because what is anything outside of conscious? What can be experienced outside of consciousness? I'm not saying nothing can, but as we have experienced, nothing can. So but yet, and that can be that, but what may be greater than even that term would be bindu. It's just pure potential, pure expanse, and pure nothingness. It is bindu, and all can be expressed as that. And then I think an older word for they used to be understood that the finest existential property and reality is is what's called now crudely called an electron, and I think maybe at other times that might have been thought to be a proton, and at other times that might have been thought to be a neutron, and at other times that had actually been called, and now I think now it might be called like quanta, which would be even finer and more dynamic. And then at the original, I think it had been called corpuscle or something like that. I think, I don't know the word quark that might be in there, but I think that what would, and that from that reasoning, what may be so difficult to isolate and define about that would be that if there is actually something so dynamic and fine as to be what's called a bindu, the broadest yet the subtlest and the most dynamic and the most static and the most kinetic existent property existent, pure excellence, that had, is there really more than anything? Is there really more than the number one? And is there really less than the number one? One would say that as I'm communicating, I'm being expressed across ones and zeros. But what is zero without one? Can there be zero without one? People talk about how profound zero is, but yet what meaning has zero without one? What reality would zero have without one? But then again, if there is reality at all, what can it be other than one? What really would it be more than one? So maybe we're not so much talking over ones and zeros, but we're talking about one and the space in between another one, and that space is also one. And from that dynamic, this thing called a corpuscle, or the finest yet the broadest and most profound existent that can be appreciated as having a characteristic, and maybe we get more confound when we ascribe a characteristic to it, is what the problem might be, because a characteristic in an attribute is limiting, and it's been broadly recognized that what is inaffectable, what indescribable, inscrutable, that means like describable, is beyond description fundamentally, because a description would be too limited. But if something is that dynamic as profound, can there really be more than anything of one? Can there really be more than one? And thereby, is that not yet all things at once? All things that could be, had been, may be, are. That might actually be the more arbitrary one to say are. May yet, will yet, could yet, had yet, will yet, are yet. Is that anything other than it? Is that anything other than other? Is that anything other than one? And by that means, is that not all at once? All that had, now, may yet, at once. Chid Ghana, consciousness great. So to be both rhythm, I've expressed in other videos that there may not yet be anything but rhythm, anything more profound or simple than rhythm. That is, rhythm is two things at once. Two things seemingly at once is rhythm. So when you're actually hearing rhythm, like a linear, a piece of art that exists like across like what's called like it's like our sense of time, like it requires a sense of timing to appreciate music, because you're hearing input, silence, input, silence, input, silence, input, silence. Oscillation gives a sensation of pitch and sound, and it also gives a sensation of multiple pitches. And even as you appreciate music, the effect is different than the reality. You're hearing an effect, a vibe, a beat, but you're more so actually hearing sound and silence, sound and silence, sound and silence, similar to like rapid frames in a like a cartoon, where even I think the word is verisimilitude. That's art that appears to be reality. I think even our digital like photographic evidence, digital photographic evidence is yet verisimilitude, because it's a replication and therefore like a contrivance in an art piece. Yet it's more of an effect than an actual reality when it's occurring across any when it's being transcribed among any means. It's an effect, not a reality, and it's more so arbitrary because it's input, lack of input, lack of input, both sonically and visually, that creates the appearance of motion, the sensation of motion, the perception and the ability to respond to that perception of motion. But yet it's arbitrary in how it does not quite exist as it would appear to exist. But it's similar with music, where it's not actually existing in a defined sense, as it would appear to exist. But actually, you could say the appearance may be more of a reality than the defined terms, and that's another thought. But yet it's so you just have rhythm. Is all music is rhythm, and then rhythm within rhythm is called counterpoint, and at that point you have a reference, so you could say that's timing now. So you have rhythm and timing, the what's expected and then what's improvised, and therefore challenging, and therefore surprising, and therefore enlightening. A child is not so much impressed by something good or great. A child is impressed by impressed. A child is impressed by surprise, by being delighted, by being surprised, by being challenged, by being by being confronted with something that had not or could not have been anticipated, yet is challenging or affirming or enjoyable, is what is the delight of a child. I think that if you promise a child the moon tomorrow, that would be cool. But if you gave them a really cool rock today that they didn't expect, that might yet also be cooler. And that's somewhat thing of the surprise and the challenge and the enlightenment and the learning and the joy that is improvising, a combination of what's anticipated and what could not or had not been anticipated would be the counterpoint, is the rhythm within the rhythm. But both are somewhat dependent, and both are a form of one another. But we could say that maybe our existence is similar, is nothing but rhythm, and that it would appear as though it's 1 0 1 0 1 0, but it's more so 1 of 1, 1 plus 1, 1 minus 1, 1 and 1, 1 1. It's one more. And then if you could appreciate that, what the finest existent that can be appreciated, that can be felt, maybe better than being defined or recognized or conceived or inspired or worshipped, would be felt, would be more profound than even worship. What's more profound than even worship? Definition, description, appreciation, research, knowledge, wisdom, love, fear, joy, pain. What is more so profound is feeling within all that. But if it could, with the most potent yet sublime yet dynamic existent that can be felt, may actually yet be within abiding as directing and exacting, accounting and providing and spending at once. And that would could be the closest thing I can enunciate that in terms of verbal communication, deeper than Chidgana, would be Bindu, according to like the teachings of India, as I understand that. And I don't fully understand that, but I've come across it in the work of Arthur Avalon. In a scientific term, that would be the corpuscle. Is there yet more than what? Can there yet be more than one corpuscle, or less than one corpuscle, or even one corpuscle, without a reference that can be a reason to be arbitrary? Then had that reality been so, that would be faster than the speed of light. That would be, as you can, anything that can be appreciated as in terms of dynamic speed, that fast, that slow, to be yet all and none and one and 1 plus 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 less than 1 and none and 1. That's beyond light, because that how many positions can that not also be at one, and how much of one can that all be at one, is profound right there. But I was just thinking that but what may be yet deeper than that, and I won't say that, but within all that, you can, the thing that can contend with that will abide with that the longest, would be numbers. Because numbers that's the only thing that may possibly be something beyond that, yet it couldn't be conceived without that facilitating it, so we couldn't say it's entirely beyond that. But that is the only thing that can yet contend and somehow attend what would be as dynamic as Chidgana, corpuscle, Bindu, and then finer than that would just be, to say nothing, silence. Maybe that's the reality. Bindu and silence. That's the real one and zero. That's the real unit of reality, and also even the matrix. One and none, some and none, Bindu and silence is what creates the effects of experiencing anything, and that facilitates the foundation and the the potential to conceive, conception being thought in itself, the deepest conception being thought, not actually not actually our progeny, but actually the deepest that may be conceived is actually thought. Maybe that's actually the deepest the most dauntless feat in existence that had existed. I thought had been breathing. That'd be the deepest, most sublime spiritual. But what that amounts to, what does all this breathing that is existence amount to? It might amount to conception. And what is there to conceive deeper than thought? What are anything beyond thought? That is consciousness. That is Chidgana. And then but yet you need challenge. Nothing can maybe grow without challenge. So what could make something become that awesome as is what I'm amounting to? It would have to take some kind of challenge. So therefore there would have to be something to abide and contend with. And what can and what can we conceive that had been potential as long, and even the word long is arbitrary. What is yet as endearing and what is as deep of an impetus, a deep reality, a deep potential, a deep an outcome as what I'm reaching for with Bindu would be conception. The deepest challenge to existent is challenge. And what do you get from that? You get conception. And what is the deepest conception? A thought. And what is the experience of thought? Consciousness. And what is anything outside of consciousness? You could say maybe what it takes to animate breathing and the experience of breathing and the outcome of breathing is as profound as consciousness. But yet in India it's said that there is no consciousness outside of breathing, and to appreciate consciousness, or to appreciate breathing is to appreciate consciousness. To manage breathing is to manage consciousness, according to some thoughts from India. But numbers are daunting, and that's the only thing mean enough to abide within and challenge what's called existent, and maybe even maybe even what does provide for the greatest of providers, because yeah, all things need to be provided for, that we understand. I would say would be challenge. And then what is the deepest challenge? The deepest challenge is conception. What is the deepest conception? Symmetry and asymmetry at once. And what's another description for that would be mathematics, that is numbers. So these fools were running numbers on me hardcore, and I think that had I recorded the back and forth, some of it, you would have had audio and visual dialogue of what's referred to as truly wicked. And that's not necessarily bad, because it challenges and it gives opportunities, no less opportunities to record it and then maybe blast that and then maybe get over on it and on life, because that would have been like really cool if I could have documented that. And I would have probably had they weren't trying to give me anything free, just to say it like that, but they may yet have given me a free ticket somewhere upstate if I would have recorded that and blasted that. But it would have been a really clear portrayal of wickedness in a beautiful piece of art, more beautiful probably than the content that I've made, either in terms of auditory, what I think is thinking, and then also the music. What would be even deeper than that would be something that cold and wicked to have that would be really artistic. And I would have somewhat actually I would have been slicker, I would have been colder than the wicked one, and I also made it been more redeeming and enlightening than what's called righteous, to have done one colder, done one slicker than the slickest of slickers, the slickest snot, slicker than snot. I meant slicker than snot, and it had been a couple snot